Can anyone tell me, why are you here today?
Rugby.
The rugby?
Yes.
You know about the Mark Shuttleworth project?
Yes.
So you're not here because of the Mark Shuttleworth project? Not?
We are playing rugby.
So it's not because of the Mark Shuttleworth thing? No. Do you know that Mark Shuttleworth is donating computers to your school?
Yes.
Brand new state of the art. And you're not here because of that? No. You must like rugby more than computers, eh? Who of you likes computers? So you're going to check out the new computer center?
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Thanks, yeah? What team do you play, by the way?
Klopper. For a school.
Can I get some of you? Come here. Come up here.
We'll find that.
What's happening here today? Because you can tell me now. What is the deal?
Right, we're going to, in this room, okay, we're going to have the thin clients, right?
Yeah.
Here, the crew's going to come in here with educators, with some volunteers, parents,
Sure.
and some learners, right? They're going to come in here, and then they are going to start connecting the computer to the hard drive, right? And they're going to see the computer's working. Okay, they're going to they call it thin clients. They probably look at it. There's the cables on that side as well, right? And they're going to connect up. And then while a crew's busy here, a crew's going to be in the computer lab. There they can do the cabling, right? The cable, put in the cable so that it can be mounted to the plug. Okay, right? Then we have a crew that's going to be the server, right? That crew will be taught by the server presenter how the server works, how the server is connected, right? Setting up the server. That is what's going to happen. And then at 11 o'clock, 11:30 for the latest, we are going to log on. Then we're going to, these computers will go into the computer lab, then we're going to log on, and then we're going to switch on. And by that time, I'm going to phone Hilton. And then it will be announced on radio that J.S. Klopper was the first school logged on at 11:30.
Good. I'll keep you to it. We just have to shoot everything. I'm sorry to put you through this. I wasn't here. I know a slight little bit about him, but who is Mark Shuttleworth?
Mark Shuttleworth is the first South African astronaut. Obviously must have lots of money. And we are very grateful to the foundation for choosing our school to be one of 10 to receive computers today.
Is it? Which foundation is that?
The Mark Shuttleworth Foundation.
Is it? So he's donating computers to schools?
Yes, the foundation is seeing to all that.
Really? Is it just software, or is it software and hardware?
No, it's everything. It's computers. We have only to prepare the room, and everything else we got from them.
So they're still coming with a lot of computers?
And they are installing it for us, and they will train the teachers in order to teach the children. So we are very grateful to them.
I can imagine. It's a great thing he's doing.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. And by this open source software, you know, we are now able to empower our community, right? And to empower our ex-learners, right, by using, because the open source software there's less maintenance involved. You know, it's not very expensive to maintain the software.
What open source software is that?
Isn't it Linux?
It's Linux. I think I've read something that it's
Yeah,
Linux. Yes.
Linux, yeah.
So everything that he is donating it's all Linux based.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. And the learners, have you worked on Linux? Because I'm foreign to it.
No, we've used Microsoft.
Is it?
Yeah.
I would love to see Linux. I think this would be. This is the before shot.
Before shot. Is in the history books again, right? And I want to welcome our SLUG team, right? Our volunteers, and I also want to welcome the foundation, members of the foundation, our educators, ex-learners, and parents. And we've got visitors from another school. Welcome here today. Today we are setting up our computer lab, and it's a prestige for us. And I want to say to the foundation that we are grateful for the opportunity that the foundation has afforded us to put up our computer lab. And we can assure the foundation and the SLUG team that we are going to use the computer room, the open source software we're going to use to the best of our ability. We're going to empower our learners, we're going to empower our community, we're going to empower our ex-learners, and we are going to use that computer room. Right? We're going to go in there. You can see that we are a dedicated staff, we are committed, right? So this is only the start of great things for us at J.S. Klopper Primary. This is now also another seller for our school, so you can imagine the enrollment is going to start for 2005 as from tomorrow. So we're going to sit now with 50 learners, so we now will have to work now for extra classrooms as well. For that, although that is another project, we are going to enlarge the school, you know. But welcome, and we're going to enjoy the day. It's going to be a day of learning for us, and we're going to have a fun day, and we're going to eat as well. Right? So there is a set program. We have set times as well. Right? The Gerald from the foundation, he's going to explain to us what's going to happen. Right? And then we're going to go in there and as soon as we logged on, then I will speak to Hilton. I must make contact with Hilton, then we will go on air to say that J.S. Klopper has now logged on, so we might be the first school. Let's hope we're the first school. Right? And then after that, then everybody is invited. Please don't go home, right? You all deserve to have a delicious and finger-licking lunch with us. Okay? That will be served as soon as we logged on. So it depends, guys, the quicker we get the thin clients and the cabling done, we are going to log on, and then we're going to have something to eat. Thank you very much. Thank you for making time to come as well.
And we really look forward to bringing a difference in the area, in the school. Yeah, and it's going to be a good day. I think a good day for many of us. There's hard work ahead. Okay, it's not just going in there and then just doing the job, but actually what we want to do is empower you as the teachers, as the ex-pupils, to do this yourself actually. We are only here to guide you and to help you. We are not here to do the work. You know, so yeah, a week down the line something goes wrong. You don't have to call me or any of the volunteers to come fix it. You can fix it yourself. And that is our aim. Okay, we were here in the week as well, and I think some of the teachers actually learned that and working with us very nicely. So I don't want to stall or keep you from anything. I think before we get into the whole teams and everything, I think we should go to the room. Is everything ready there? Can we go?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we should all maybe go there, just have a look at it, and then we can maybe split up into teams. I'll introduce you to the team leaders then, and just exactly tell you what they're going to be doing. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to enjoy it.
Study computer. This is for the computer, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Lansberg.
It's not for the kids then, is it?
Yeah, not for the kids,
Okay.
but sir, yeah. You know, when they're busy and we put him in here.
It's such a monstrous computer, intelligent.
Right, we just realized something, which might set us a little bit behind, not too much. No, about that little mistake now. Okay, we've got this bag. Bradwell here. Okay, Bradwell and Neil, the big guy over here. Okay, that's Bradwell over here. They'll be doing the networking, which will be the crimping of these cables. Okay. And that's going to be quite a nice job. We're probably about 20, maybe 25 of you. Okay. Then we've got Rian over here, the blue t-shirt on. Okay. Rian's going to be installing a server. And there we really don't need too many people. We're about maybe 5 people, but just to have a look at it maybe. Maybe the administrators or people that are really interested in that. Then the rest of you, what we need to do is we're actually bring in the computers, put them down, we're going to open them up. We're going to have a look at the network cards. We'll explain exactly what it is. I think Neil and Brad will be up for that as well. I'll explain exactly what it is, close it again, put everything together, plug in the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, your network cable, and job's done. Okay. Sounds like a very quick thing. But it's actually not that difficult. So what we're going to do now is actually get the pieces out of the way first. So maybe, are the pieces next door?
Yes, yes.
Okay, the monitors as well. So maybe if we can get, there's only 20 computers, so maybe 20 of you, maybe close to the door, just go to the room next door, take one computer and put it down at a place. Another one, grab a monitor next door and just put it down next to the computer over here. So can we get just a bunch of you maybe just to do that?
You are one of the volunteers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
And how did you get involved and what is it exactly that you do?
As a volunteer, I just help schools get Linux installed in their places. Today specifically, I'm going to help with the server installation. I got involved by friends and wanting to learn more about Linux because through this project that the Shuttleworth Foundation offers, volunteers get the opportunity to do courses in Linux specifically. So they do 2 schools and then you can look over.
7? No, wait, wait, let me just get this. I got it on the paper.
in different ways. With this specific one, you lift these two flaps over here and push it forward and take it apart. And inside, you'll see the really, really complex stuff that goes on inside a computer. And the most important thing for us in this sort of a thin client environment, we don't have hard drives, we don't have very complicated things running on these computers. They're very, very simple computers. They don't have, they don't actually do the work. The work happens on the server. So to do this, we need a network. So the network card is sitting over here. If I can take it out, actually. And that tiny little thing is the network card, which allows it to talk to all the other computers. And basically, the computers talk via the little ROM, which we just write information onto. And it then sends out a broadcast on the network saying, "Can someone please, tell me what to do?" And then what happens is it gets information on what to do, what programs to load, and so forth. And it starts the boot up process. And when it's reached a certain stage, it asks the server to take over and displays this graphical screen, which you're going to see later on. And that's about as much as you need to know about the computer itself to actually run the lab. Nothing else is really necessary on your part. We put them in already. There's no reason to take them out and put them back in again, as we usually do. If there's a problem and you need to get another computer for some reason, you might need to do this yourself. It's really simple. There are these white slots over here. They're pretty short. They're the only thing that will fit into anywhere, the right size, and that's all you do. Just slot them in, push down, end of story. There are going to be little connectors at the end of these network cables, which just plug in there. There's only one way they can go in. There's nothing really complicated about it. I think that's about everything I need to tell you about these little thin client machines at all. You pass it through one of these little holes over here, and you get these two power. The monitor on the top, the monitor connector, and you might need to turn it around. In. Tight in these things over here. That's how you put together the workstation machines. That's it. No, there's power.
Makkelijk. Kan alles dit af.
You are from?
P4 Radio.
And you are broadcasting all of this?
Well, we're basically crossing over to the studio every half an hour. I'll be going around to as many of the schools as possible. There are 10 schools being set up today. So I'll try and squeeze in as many as we can before 12 o'clock, which is when the broadcast ends. Just giving them an idea, the listeners at home, just an idea of what is happening at the different schools. JS Klopper will be from now, and then from here I go to Windermere, from there I go to Maitland Primary, and we keep going until we've sorted out as many as we can before 12, yeah?
Now, you can imagine when you're in radio, you know the face, but you don't know the name.
Yeah, well, I do apologize. It's the only face I have, unfortunately.
You've got a brilliant face for radio.
The perfect face, no, for sure.
So just introduce yourself. You are?
Theo.
Theo?
Theo on the throne, P4 104.9.
And what time slot?
I do duty on Saturdays and Sundays between 5 and 9.
Brilliant. I'll listen in next time.
Thanks so much. Cheers, man.
So you said you are from what academy?
We are from Panorama Christian Academy.
And what's your involvement here? You just came to look?
Yes, basically we were invited and we just basically came to look and see the setup because I believe that we also will have this program in our school.
Ma'am, tell us, what is an operating system? You've heard about Windows.
Yeah, yes.
Now, you know Windows is an operating system. Now, apparently this one, Linux, is free. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I did hear.
And do you think people would adapt to Linux? Because Windows is pretty much a standard. Very few people have heard of anything other than Windows. Do you think people would adapt easy to an operating system that they haven't even heard of?
I think so, yes.
It's going to be taught. What's your opinion on it? You think people would adapt to an operating system, a new operating system other than Windows?
I think so. I think what's important is in terms of training, people need to be trained. I think also even in terms of our children, we find that they, at the end of the day, they're more computer literate than most of the previous generation, who are fathers, even in terms of our generation. So I believe that to some extent that they will adapt, and even in terms of teaching the community and helping the community so that they can become computer literate. I think that's extremely important as well, and I think this system will help, but I think training in terms of that is also needed.
So what you're actually saying is that children, for a change, would be teaching the previous generations.
I think that is going to happen.
Okay, you just say it.
I think that is going to happen. I think that children at the end of the day, because we see in our libraries, we see in the As I've said, I think children at the end of the day are going to teach their parents, especially in communities like we find ourselves in, that children tend to be, they tend to get into the computer literacy, tend to know more about things happening because they watch television more, and at the end of the day, they are the vehicle at the end of the day that can teach their parents, because I feel to some extent their parents are lacking behind in terms of knowledge and in terms of computer literacy, as I've said. So what we're going to find is children even learning at school about computers. They're going to, at the end of the day, go home and they're going to teach their parents. They're also going to introduce this particular program to their parents, and I think that is a good thing. So yeah, they're good marketers at the end of the day.
Okay, my name is Adelina. I'm a student at Peninsula Technical, and I'm a volunteer in this TuXlab.
Windows, as opposed to Linux. Have you worked on Linux?
I haven't worked on Linux that much because it's still new to me, but I'm in the process of learning now. But it looks good compared to Windows.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So it's fairly easy. Is it adaptable enough? Would you have trouble with your normal programs and your normal drivers?
Not really.
Not really?
I haven't done the installing thing, but I'm working with it like of Office and all that. It's really cool. Yeah.
I wasn't here at the time that it happened, so I don't know much about the gentleman who found this foundation. So tell me more about Mark Shuttleworth.
Now you got me.
Well, apparently he's an astronaut and an IT genius.
So I heard. I haven't read that much about him.
You haven't read either?
Yeah.
What?
No, I know about him, but it's not that much of information that I can give it to you. Yeah.
Okay. And you reckon there would be a paradigm shift in the near future from Windows to Linux? You reckon it's possible? You reckon it will ever happen that Linux will start selling?
It is possible because I mean it is free and it is really so much opportunities there because you can change whatever you want to change. So.
Really? So
yeah.
it's a flexible operating system?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Okay.
We're installing something called Fedora. It's called K12 LTSB. K12 is the system in the UK, kindergarten to grade 12. And LTSB is Linux Terminal Services Project. The terminal service is just when you have a thin client and it talks to a server to get all its power. And it's based on a thing called Fedora, which is a distribution of Linux. So appropriate keyboard, we have a US English keyboard, so it's next. It's a wheel mouse, and it's PS2. PS2 is that little connector, that little connector we have at the end of the mouse, it's a PS2 mouse, most things, and so you don't really have to do much over here. You have an option between to upgrade an existing installation or to install a new one. So, it doesn't already take the
Right, my name is Gerald Bieber. Okay, I am a slug volunteer. I am, well, actually the first slug volunteer. Myself and Hilton Tennyson, the project manager for the program, we started out slug, and we were the first volunteers for this project. And at the time, we never had a name for it, so we never called it slug, or we were just there. And okay, oh, yeah, okay, you can have a look at it. That is slug. This is the third logo. The first logo was designed by myself, but this time evolves and changes. But as I say, we started out slug, and we almost a year down the line now, and we've got close to 200 volunteers.
Brilliant.
Which is like awesome.
Now, where can the normal person go knocking for a free copy of Linux?
Okay, the normal person, well, they could either come to us. we burn copies like nothing. They can go to the MTN Science Center in Canal Walk. We've just recently installed a machine there which burns copies. I don't know the speed, but it burns about a copy of Linux every couple of minutes. So you go there, I think you just give them or pay for the blank CDs, and that's all you pay for.
Brilliant.
The other person who's got a lot of broadband can go on the internet. You can look for it at sourceforge.net. Probably the most common site to get it.
Slow look in, because apparently Mr. Shuttleworth is all for open source software.
Okay.
So if there's any other open source software, it's good to go look for. But I just want to wait for this blank.
Okay, no problem. Okay, open source software. Well, there's really so many out there. You don't know where to start.
Where do you go look for it?
Most common place, like I said earlier, was sourceforge.net.
SourceForge.
Sourceforge.net. Okay, sorry, my phone's ringing.
That's quite right.
Okay, let me just get this. Okay, thanks a lot. Alright, bye-bye. Yeah, sourceforge.net. Okay, that is probably one of the most common sites to find open source software. You just do a normal search and you can find it and download it. You mentioned games. There's actually so many. With the standard installation of Linux, I'm running at the moment SUSE. And SUSE comes with close to 200 preloaded games, which includes I think it's OpenCraft or FreeCraft, which is like StarCraft. There's things like Doom, which comes free with it, the old Doom. There's things like, there's Pool, there's, really just hundreds of games. There's racing games, and it's all totally free.
So what would you look for a good graphic designer program like Adobe Photoshop? What would be a good open source alternative for Adobe Photoshop?
Definitely the GIMP.
The GIMP?
The GIMP.
Okay, just say the GIMP is a good alternative.
Yeah, the GIMP is definitely a good alternative for Photoshop or any graphic editing program. The GIMP was actually used for the developing of the movie Shrek.
You're not serious.
I'm dead serious, and it's totally free of charge. We actually had a workshop on the GIMP a few weeks ago, and it's really user-friendly, easy to use.
Video editing programs?
Video editing, there's tons of them. There's one called Broadcast 2000. There's one called Main Actor. There's really tons of them. Sound editing, there's a lot. There's even one for DJs. It's called Terminator X. You can actually scratch like real turntables from there. I actually use it. There's really just so many.
Brilliant. At what stage do you start paying for Linux? And do you have a 3 or 4 computer agreement?
Okay. Yes, Linux comes with what they call the GPL, which is the GNU public license. Okay, and the license states that the software is in fact free. Okay, but not free as in free money, but in fact free in freedom. So, the freedom of choice and the freedom to change. Not all open source software is free, because in the license it states that a person can sell software or open source software if he wants to, because you, the designer of that, cannot stop another person from selling it. But selling it doesn't mean that you can stop the next person from giving it away for free.
You cannot stop
the person from giving it away for free. So it's free distribution, so you can distribute to anybody you want to, and I think that's where the freedom part comes in. So someone can buy a copy of Linux. They can sell it at the shop and you can buy it, but the shop can't stop him from making copies and giving it to everybody.
Brilliant. So that is the concept of open source.
That is the concept.
That's excellent. I'm going to make sure this makes the edit of this video. So essentially, if you can just explain it to clarify, how does Linux make their money?
Well, Linux is basically, you know, a community. You know, it's like the internet, it doesn't belong to anyone. But there are certain people that have developed certain versions of Linux and distributions of Linux that sort of just took the kernel, which is Linux, and they sort of worked it around and made a product which is more, you know, known to them. And they gave it a name, like Red Hat, SUSE, you know. And how they make the money mainly is support. You know, obviously, you know, once you sell something, the manuals come with it. That's the nice thing about it. It comes with the manuals, but obviously not everyone wants to read it. And they are, you know, support people out there, and that's where they make the money.
Just one last question. Use different partitions. Can you dual boot? Can you? Do you have any trouble running your standard programs and standard drivers on Linux?
Not at all. I know someone that is actually quad booting, which means he's running 4 different operating systems on my machine. 3 different Linux operating systems and 1 Windows. So there's really no problem with dual booting, tri-booting, quad booting. The nice thing about Linux is it comes preloaded with all its drivers.
But I mean, I've got specialized devices in my PC, special sound cards, very specialized video cards. Linux will run those. We have no problem running them.
You know, the nice thing about it is that if they can't find your specific video card, they'll install a generic one, which will work just as fine. And all you have to do is go on the internet, search for your video card drivers, and you can download it.
How large is the installation? How much space does it take up on your hard drive?
It varies depending on what you want. There's one called Klopper, which boots off a CD. You don't need any hard drive space for it. Don't even need a hard drive in your machine. It's called a live CD. You boot straight off the CD, and you can even run a network off it.
Boots into your RAM?
It boots into your RAM. Creates a RAM disk, and that's it. There's one called what's it called? I can't remember. It's tiny Linux. Puts in a stiffy. You boot off it. I know one of our guys has actually got it on his USB watch, and he boots a machine off his watch, a Linux. You know, there's the standard one, which is Fedora core, or Red Hat, which we're using in the school. The minimum installation for that is about 1.8 gig. Maximum could go up to about 6 gig. Yeah, that's because all the software is preloaded and it comes with the CDs. 3 CDs, which means that after you install that, you wouldn't need to buy anything else. Everything is there.
Graphics, sound, video.
Everything. You wouldn't have to download any additional software. You wouldn't have to install anything else. It's just there.
So where can I get that?
Anyway, like I said, MTN Science Center is one place. You can speak to any of the SLUG guys. You know, we do it for hobbies. I know a guy that's part of SLUG and he does it for a living. Not for a living.
Important question. Mr. Shuttleworth is funding all this.
Yes.
Have you met the man?
Yes, I have.
And?
Very extremely down-to-earth person. You know, it was last year, the end of the year, and it was our end of year function. And then he invited, you know, just the key role players in it. And we thought, you know, it's going to be this whole big formal dinner because that's what it was advertised as, you know, and we all came dressed up. And he showed up wearing a white shirt, a blue jean, and this old pair of shoes. And he was walking around talking to everybody with his cool drink in his hand, and he was extremely down to earth. He even wore his SLUG t-shirt and took a picture with us. You know, so to have Mark Shuttleworth supporting SLUG, you know, is really amazing. And I think he's a great guy. Really.
1, 2, 3.
J.S. Klopper Primary, we want to thank the foundation and the SLUG team. Thank you very much. Bye. Yay!